Talk about the music business a little bit. Gary, what's going on? You know, you're the mastermind of the career. If she lets you, do you let him?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Lauren, what's going on with the career?
Under my regime. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it's tricky, you know, because, you know, I always have to keep a balance, and we're still trying to feel out. We haven't really worked together terribly long, you know. We're trying to figure out, like, who does what, and sometimes it's both of us, and sometimes, you know, he's the mastermind. He's the one that does all the evil plans, and then sometimes it's me, if he lets me. No, I'm just kidding. But, you know, whatever seems to be the best ideas is what we unanimously vote on.
Okay. You've got, at least around these parts, the initial notoriety came from Love Janis, which you sang Janis Joplin songs.
Yeah.
What'd you get out of that, and what are you doing with that to propel you into you?
Oh, I loved doing that show. I learned a lot, actually, from doing the show. And one of the things I like best about doing that show is that it was a time era that I particularly loved. There were a lot of great singers, along with Janis Joplin.
Dude, I like that era too.
Well, like, you know, I mean, there's Aretha Franklin that came out of that, 60s and 70s. Tina Marie, you know, the Ivory Queen of Soul. She's exciting. And let's see, there's Patti LaBelle, you know, with the Hey Sister, Soul Sister going on. And it's just a really chaotic time, but it was exciting and very creative all at the same time. And
then you got to, you know, assimilate what you can and then keep it in your rearview mirror and look ahead.
Absolutely. Find out, you know, what was the best ideas and what wasn't so good. And,
right.
You know.
Well, you know, what if you picked up anything, you know, if anyone can pick up something from that era is soulful singing.
Absolutely.
You know, melt the paint off the doors and then the walls type of, you know, just really gut emotion, which these days, if emotion seems to equal overdoing things rather than just becoming it. You know, a lot of singers are doing their calisthenics. I call it, you know, it's like, you know, there's one syllable that they're milking, you know, and it's really, the lyric doesn't seem to be, you know, to be as you know, gripping.
I think that the pendulum swings back and forth between passion and the intellectual. Like you'll have like, you know, like the fugues that are very like almost patterned and symmetrical, and then you'll have like the real like blah, you know, like Wagnerian, very emotive, you know, pieces. But
some would say over the top.
Yeah, but hey, you know, it's better than bland by any stretch of the imagination. But I think like throughout like musical history, there's always been a pendulum that will swing back and forth between the intellectual and just the exploration of just music itself for music's sake, and then the emotional, where like people come into play, and the emotions that come across, and what life stories, and where it all comes from there.
Well, then you got to sell it. Okay, so what are you guys? What are you two guys doing to promote, you know, you as a singer?
Well, I would say that of the pendulum. Is that what you're asking? I would say that I am a passionate singer. I'm not I'm not a one to do like the aerobic kind of thing. But, you know, I would say that there's some stuff that you would have to know in order to get your point across. You know, I mean, a high note you're going to need sometimes if you really just want to grip onto that emotion, like if you're upset or excited or whatever. There's still the science behind the communication that you would have to be able to make it come through. And there's a lot of great ways you can do it. And if you can do it as many ways as possible, you're better off.
Well, okay, just as a singer, if you're singing alone in a small studio, the lights are low, and you're vibing, and you're being the song, is that different than throwing it out to the cheap seats? No, seriously, in a theatrical production or on stage, I mean, is there a difference in the emotion that you?
For me?
Yeah, or is there?
I sing. This might sound kind of corny, I guess, but I sing to every person in that theater. I've sung to like theaters of like 750, 800, you know, if I'm even singing to 1,000 million people, that person in the back row is going to still feel what I'm projecting.
So that's the communication that you're talking
Absolutely.
about.
I'm
do
singing
you
to
feel
every
that,
person out there.
I mean, you know, I'm a singer and I sing in the studio too, and you know, mine is more internal, yours is more external in terms of communication?
Well, that's the trick.
Is that,
like,
or is that
that
too cheap to?
No, I mean, like when I'm trying to sing in the studio, I want it to have that live quality. Because even when I'm like listening to my jazz records or whatever, or opera or whatever, I mean, I always feel like the live albums are, I mean, I can't help it. It's always my preference, the live performances. And I think it's always been like a tricky thing to achieve for everybody. You know?
Well, Gary, you know, there's some things that you can do in the studio to kind of set the stage up and the vibe up. You're probably pretty aware of that because it's your job to say in the studio, that's it, that's the one. You know, how do you approach Lauren in the studio?
First of all, well, we co-produce. She's an incredible producer and actually an engineer because I've been doing engineering for a while and she's learning and she's a very fast student.
I'm only as good as my teacher.
Yes.
Aww.
Thank you. But on the production end of it, it's a very good question. How do you achieve that live charisma and spark and electricity?
How do you know when it's the right one?
Very good question. And the answer that we use as a yardstick, and the one thing that I've tried to kind of impart to Lauren, just like through the artist development end of things, is what she's talking about, communication. I've always been a student of communication is the master. Right. Good art has a message, and I think that's, you know, what we're about. We're about the message. So there might be a take where, and we're both perfectionists technically, but we don't use that as a tool in the studio as an end-all. We're going for the communication. So if there's a line that she sings, or if there's a thing that I play, and it's got a little tiny mistake on it, or if it's slightly out of tune, we don't listen for that. We listen, is this thing communicating? Did we get the soul out of it? And if it does, guess what? The slight imperfection in it, you don't even notice because you're getting so much of the soul in the communication, and that's what art is, and you're getting the emotion. So if you're creating the emotion in the person, right, that's when it's done. You know, and I've been in the studio with the other kind of a musician or singer like this. They'll go, no, it's out of tune. We're going to do it again. And I'm saying, oh my God, that's one of the most classic lines I've ever heard you sing. Or anyone sing. Yeah. It's so soulful. No, it's out of tune. It's a little flat. And I'm saying, good, leave it. You know? And they're like, so then that's a whole other approach. We don't take that approach.